Well, I'm so glad to be here tonight and have this opportunity to grow. Today, I want to talk a little bit about some things that we all go through, and that is wind or storms. Sometimes they're a nice, gentle breeze, and it's just kind of pushing us this way or a little bit that way and kind of leading and directing us in the right path. And then sometimes it's just a catastrophe, and he takes us down to the floor or all the way down to the foundation. And those times in our life can be very trying, and there's just a lot going on. I have had some of those times in my life, and I bet you guys too. But it's also hopeful to think that even the temple in Jerusalem, it was built more than once. So I appreciate that God does that for us. I'm a little nervous tonight, so I'm going to get over that in just a minute. One of the people in the Bible that we hear that there was a great storm in their life is Job. And that is my absolute least favorite book in the Bible. I don't know that anybody would say they like the book of Job. It's just not my favorite book of the Bible. And unfortunately, but that's just what I have felt to talk about tonight was the book of Job. Can we start with one of those scriptures, Heather? Thank you so much. And this is after Job was going through a really rough time. Job has lost absolutely everything, and he had been sitting down in a pile of ashes with his friends. And then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, "Who is this that darkened counsel by the words without knowledge?" So before this goes to happen, he asked Job to stand up like a man. And I've heard this not from here, but from other places where he was like, like having a confrontation with Job, which is kind of what the whole book of the Bible is about. First, we have the confrontation where God kind of offers Job up, like, "Hey, have you considered Job? Why don't you come over here and kind of help me out here? It's gonna, And then we have his friends, and they're kind of trying to help him figure it out, and nobody really knows what's going on, but God does. And I think he says that because he's not saying those as fighting words, like, "Job, stand up like a man, because I'm going to answer you now." It's like, "Job, stand up. You're a man, and I'm God. You can't carry it on your shoulders. You don't know what's going on, and only I do." And so now we're at the third verse, and it says, "Now prepare yourself like a man, and I will answer you, and you shall answer me." And I think that's really cool because God is having a conversation with him. He's not just pronouncing something on him or speaking something on him. They're actually having a conversation. And that's pretty amazing. And so the next one, thank you, Heather. "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding." And I don't think there he was trying to, make Job look dumb. He already was in this ash pile. He has already had everything gone. And from the God I know, he's kind, and he's full of love, and he's merciful, and he's gracious. And I don't believe that at all. I believe that he was wanting to tell him that, "Look, Job, look at all these things I've done. Look at this. Look what I have." And it says, tell me if you have understanding." So he's kind of putting things into perspective for Job. Oh, sorry. So that's all I gave you, sorry. And so that goes on to tell you that he was just literally putting everything in perspective. So what I felt God was telling me through this is that sometimes he takes you down to the foundation because what is built maybe had a purpose during that season. So you have this foundation and you had this building, but that's not going to serve its purpose now. So if you're going through a storm or you have some things a little out of whack in your life, kind of remember that. When God takes you down in a storm or he's working in parts of your life or there's like a whirlwind of commotion or emotions or just tribulation, just remember God knows exactly what he's doing. We cannot figure him out. Maybe the smartest thing for Job was to sit down and wait for the God because, he's the only one that knows, which is really cool. But I thought that was neat. And I felt like God was also talking to me about when we go through these things, he's working in us. And there's a scripture in James, and it's 1:12, and I didn't give this one to Heather. I just thought about it a few minutes ago. But it said, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those that love him." And all of us go through so many trials and different things. And as I was thinking about that, I had a dream the other night. I was just dreaming some things. And the Lord came into the dream, and I was dreaming, and there was a person with me, and he said, "There's a messenger coming." And there was a little pause, and then he came in, and he spoke to me, and this is going to sound weird, but he rubbed my belly around, and he said, "Wind," and then he stopped, and he said, "Dance." And so I continued dreaming, and then I asked my friend, I said, "Well, what was that all about?" And he said, "It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you hear. It doesn't matter what you see. And Heidi, it really doesn't matter what you say." And I thought that was really awesome. And then the cool part about it was, too, is he came in from one side of the dream, and this was the odd part about the dream, because usually a messenger comes and then leaves, but the messenger came in, and then he did not speak to anybody else, but he went out. So he was going out with that message. And the part about the dance was really cool, because what he was saying is maybe we heard that old country song where it says, "Life is like a dance," but the dance was saying that when he takes you down to those foundations, or when he's building you back up, before Job would say that he had a knowledge of God, he had heard about God, but then for the first time he had seen God with his own eyes. It became so much more personal. And what I was hearing when he was saying with the dance is that we were going to dance with God's rhythm, that we were going to maybe in a way hear his heartbeat and move in his ways. Our church is built on the different dances that we have danced with the Lord when we're working in his presence, when we're working in his will, when we're letting him lead and guide us. The people that are here and the people that have gone on, that's what has literally built the walls of our church. And I just think that was really cool that he had the time to speak that out. And then we all go through those really rough storms, and I just want to encourage anybody that's going through those right now. Even in Ezekiel, he was going through Israel was going through a really rough time, and he was, 30, it was his birthday, and he was pronounced to have this prophetic ministry, and there was just all these things going on, but God came and he even spoke to him out of a whirlwind. So if you're going through something that's really rough, there's a wind going on in your life, there's a storm, I just want you to know that God is working in your favor, and everything he does is for your good, because he loves you, he is for you, he's not there to destroy you, even though you just look around and you're just thinking, what in the world is going on? And so I just wanted to encourage you in all that. And then I feel that this is very important too. At the end, Job was asked to pray for his friends. He was asked to intercede for them. And I think that's what each and every one of us are, interceders. In Revelations, it talks about 24 sitting around the throne of God, and they have their crowns, which is their eternal life, not some fancy gold crown, and then they have that they stood the pressures, and they stood the trials, like in James, and then they are clothed in white through the blood of the Lamb. And when we go through those trials and those tribulations and we come through with God, you're elevated and you're able to go and intercede for other people. And it's not just for you. It is not just for so that you get twice as much as you had before. It's so much more than that. it's so that your family or your children aren't going to carry what you had or the storm you're going on. They're going to have a different foundation or whatever it may be. So that's all I had tonight, and thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.